Steve Moran here with another episode of Foresight TV, and I've got Milan with Caavo and Abbie Ritchie with Senior Savvy, and more importantly, she is the host of our brand new Tech Tuesday. We did our first one this Tuesday earlier this week. I am so excited about that, and we are going to talk about how to finally, after, I don't know, TV's been around for, I guess, sort of in the mainstream for 50, 60 years. I can remember as a kid when we first got TV in my house, and it was a huge deal. There's a big box with tubes and everything. It really has not lived up to its full potential in senior living, and we're going to be talking about how you can actually do that. But we are going to start with this.
Hey guys, Steve Moran here.
So here we are. Milan, let's talk about what you do and let's start with talking about what you do and how you solve the TV problem in senior living.
Yeah, so I think you sort of summed it up there. The goal from the beginning was to solve the TV problem for everyone. So the company has been around for 6 years. We started with that specific mission in mind. Everybody's got these beautiful 60, 80-inch screens in their homes, but we were seeing people sit in front of their TVs on the couch and pull out their iPad and start watching things, which made no sense. And so the question was really around, how do we make TV work the way it was supposed to work? And so super seamless, content oriented, don't have to worry about inputs and outputs and different sort of switches that you have or things that you have hooked up to it. So the original mission from the beginning was all about solving TV. And honestly, senior living wasn't even a primary focus at that point. However, it didn't take a lot of intelligence at that point to realize that this demographic watches a lot of TV. Very comfortable with TV, like you mentioned, have been watching TV for 50 years or whatever. And so porting that technology, once we did the heavy work, the heavy lift of actually getting TV to work, then now starting to build applications and solutions on top of that technology to work for this specific market. Now that's the fun part, right? We don't have to solve a lot of the little technical stuff. Now it's really building the solutions that really help them,
So let's start by just talking physically about what it is that you've built. So you've got a box that sits next to or with the TV, and it will take inputs from anything you've got, right? From cable TV to VCR. Do people still use VCRs anymore?
We see old school Blu-rays. We have seen VCRs, and believe it or not, a lot of Wii's. We see a lot of Wii's out there as well that go
okay.
The TV.
So you can take game boxes and then you've got one remote.
Yep.
And all you have to do is use that remote to get access to anything, like it was all just one box.
Correct. You really don't have to know where things are. You just have to know what you want to watch. And so you say ESPN and we'll flip it over to cable and turn on ESPN for you. You'll say YouTube and we'll flip it over to your Roku or whatever and turn on YouTube for you. Really what the side benefit that we've seen, which we didn't even expect, we assumed we'd sort of built the product for people that have Rokus that now want this seamless experience. But what we've seen is more people adopting streamers now, right? So streamers aren't scary. It's basically like, if I want to watch Netflix, I say Netflix and we'll deal with the rest for you. So it's really a unified experience, both on the content side, but for this market specifically, we've built an entire communications platform as well. So video calling, chatting, that type of stuff directly to the TV.
So, and one more thing I want to, you mentioned in passing, but I want to hit on specifically is you don't actually even have to use the remote, right?
Don't have to use the remote. I mean, you do have to use the remote to engage voice, but you can do everything around voice. So another side benefit of our technology that we found is there's different challenges in this market as well, right? You see a little more hearing impaired, vision impaired, those types of things. We've got a lot of residents in senior living communities that basically will just hold the remote and only hold the microphone button and then do everything: volume up, volume down, power on, power off. But all they have to do is worry about the one button, and we'll take care of the rest for them, right? Turn it to Netflix, any verbal things that they may want to send to anybody. It all can be done with just the one button.
So, Abbie,
yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I love that it's so easy and simple to use. I know all the technology is in the backside and built into it, but for the end user, it's so simple to use. And I'm always looking for the KISS, keep it simple senior approach with everything that I teach. So this I really like.
So, but it actually does for senior living community, it does even more, right?
Yeah, it does.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so the I think Abbie made a good point as well there. So honestly, we really couldn't have done what we do now without that first 4 years of work in consumer. So the hard part was getting just the technology to work, right? Nobody focuses on TV. All the gravity in the industry goes towards mobile and browser-based things or whatever, and not really TV. TV doesn't get a lot of focus. And even the TV guys don't spend a lot of effort here, right? Really, it's just resolution is what they really spend a lot of their time working on. And so getting that entire piece to just work on TV, getting the user interaction is very different from a mobile device where you're clicking around on things, or even on the computer where you're using your mouse or whatever. Getting something that's 10 feet away to sort of work that way is super complicated as well. So that's where we spent a ton of time over the first 4 years just building that entire platform. 60 plus patents, a bunch of different cool technologies on knowing exactly what's going on with the TV at any given point in time. And then sort of now the fun part that Abbie's talking about is now that you've got that platform, you can now build just cool stuff on it, right? So now when you can get whatever you want to show up on the TV whenever you want and the whole interaction piece to work, now you can really just start working on things that people are asking us for, like, hey, can you get this alert to show up at a certain time, or can you get this TV to automatically turn to a different channel at a certain time? That stuff for us now is really easy because the hard part's already been done, and so it's just been a lot of fun starting to work on all that.
I wanted to say that one thing I really love about this is that for staff, they can automate so many daily tasks that would be a massive drain. A drain on resources, just a drain on energy, a drain on passion, and anytime I know that I can automate something that I don't feel like doing, anytime I can do that, it is a huge relief. And I know, especially with employee turnover and retention, just having that built in is a huge bonus.
So can you give me some specific examples of kinds of things that you might automate?
Yeah, so I think, back in the day, like in other types of technologies, we always used to call this sort of like death by 1,000 cuts or something like that, right? Where it's not that there's just these big things that staff are working on all day. It's just a lot of little things, right? There's like little fires just going on all the time. And so if you can start slicing pieces of those out, like responding to questions about when an activity is going to happen or what's for lunch, or hey, when I got a light bulb that needs to be fixed, or I can't turn the volume up on my TV, or change the channel. All these things that just start piling up, like one after the other. And then sort of the obvious concern everybody's dealing with right now is just in terms of shortages in general, and the fact that folks sort of want to work in these communities because they actually want to help people, right? They want to like actually focus on the care part, and like running around looking for things and doing things. That's not what they want to spend their time doing. And so any of that you can remove. And that's kind of what we do on our platform. You can ask for help and get responses for help. You can see the calendar, you can see the dining, you can ask staff, or generally more often than not, ask family to help you with TV stuff, right? Like, what channel is the Cubs game on? Hey, don't worry about it, Mom. I'll switch it to the Cubs game right now for you, right on your phone. And so stuff like that, you don't realize how much this all adds up. But
Wait. Stop. Wait. So go after that. So I'm talking to my mom in Iowa, and she says, I can't find the Olympics, and I'm sitting here in California, and I can get my cell phone and change the channel for her.
Yep. I mean, and the real trick in all of this, and like I said, this is what the first 4 years of this project was all about, is it's one thing to turn a channel up or channel down on a TV remotely, but you really have to also see what you're doing, right? Like, otherwise you're just you don't know whether you're actually fixing the problem or making the problem worse. And so the core technology, another piece of patented technology that we have as well, is you can see what's on the TV, right? So remotely you can see, hey, Mom's on Price is Right, but she wants to watch the Cubs game or whatever, and you can type in the word TNT or CBS or whatever you want to type in, and we'll take care of the rest for you. You can do it sort of on demand, or you can pre-schedule it as well if you already know what you may want to watch. Yeah, super cool stuff.
Yeah, I really like this feature because it's inclusive. So, and the thing is that it's not just something for the staff. It's not just something for the resident. It's also something for the families, so that they can interact with their loved ones and support what the community is doing.
Right. I mean, in the end, so if you've got sort of a dynamic where Mom is in a senior housing community and you may live in a, not in the same city or the same state, still as family, you still want to help Mom, right? Or Dad, right? Like, you still want to do it. It's just, you're kind of helpless, right? Like, she calls you up and says, can you please help me with this? And your call is going to be to the community to say, hey, can you guys please help my mom? So if you can provide more and more tools for folks to actually do these things, and then you're kind of like not just offloading staff, but you're kind of providing a better experience for residents and family as well. So it kind of is a win-win in that sense.
So one of the places where I just see so much value, from personal experience, is we had a family friend who lived in a senior living community. And during COVID, she wanted to be able to do online church that was broadcast on YouTube. And the staff just frankly wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that's not good, but that was a reality. And so my wife would have to drive over there and set it up every single week to make that happen. It didn't make the community look good.
Yeah.
It was really hard on the resident. It was frustrating to the family members. And the idea of being able to just say, hey, Alice, no problem. I will turn it on for you. And I could be in Hawaii or New York and make that happen, even because if we're out of town, it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so I love that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a huge benefit. And like I said, family wants to do this, right? They want to help. I mean, we had a story just from a community a couple weeks back where the executive director basically comes in every Sunday morning to turn on the TV and put on church for the community, which is great. Like, she loves her community and she's willing to do it. But we were like, you can just, they already have Caavo elsewhere in the community. They just didn't have it in this one community room. And so we're like, well, just put that in there. And now you don't have to come in Sundays. It's kind of a trivial benefit, but that's her Sunday, and so it is a huge deal for her.
Well, and I would say it's not trivial, though, because you're talking about staff savings and being able to let staff do the things that are really human. I think more and more, I've been on a couple of panels the last couple of weeks, and the thing that keeps coming out of this is that technology should be seen as a tool to let humans be human and to do that stuff that's, it doesn't matter whether you got human interaction or not.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So, Abbie, you look like I was stepping on you there.
No, I was just 100% behind what you're saying. You know, as someone who works with various communities locally, I have seen these type of challenges where, you know, there's a whole group of residents in a certain building where they don't have access to YouTube, or they just don't have access to the internal cable channel that the rest of the community is able to see. And because of that, they can't do and participate in the things that are going to keep them vitally connected, which is like a church service, right? Or a concert. And so there's just a big need for this and a disconnect. And so when I hear that is available, I just start thinking, and you know, I'm excited because I can bring that to this one community that I'm working with, because I know that is an actual challenge that has really, like, kind of, you know, just put many things on hold for this one population of residents.
Yeah, no, it's been really cool to see, actually, sort of how the process unfolded. And we sort of, coming out of consumer, had to learn the market as well. And what you realize is there, in general, the approach from technology in these markets has been, you've got this other technology that works really well somewhere else, and so let's start putting it in senior housing. Or you have people who understand senior housing very well, but sort of like not the technology side. And so you basically have to sort of kind of, I'll call it lighter weight or thinner technology just to maybe work on specific types of problems. We probably fall in the former category to a certain extent, but when we entered the market, we just put a pause on the whole thing and said, hey, this is a whole new thing. Let's just do this from ground up. So we literally, when we first realized we wanted to enter this market, we took a good year just to learn everything about it and then just build it from ground up. We realized we couldn't just change a bunch of dials or change a bunch of buttons and make it all work. It was a whole new thing. And I think we've benefited from that a lot. Like we've circumvented a lot of problems we probably would have run into.
So let's talk a little bit about, I don't know exactly how to describe it, but let's talk a little bit about some of the potentially creepy capabilities that actually serve very well. And let's sort of start with the most basic one, because again, it's such a time saving, and talk about how check-in works.
Yeah, so check-ins, you know, obviously, communities do these I'm okay checks in a variety of different ways right now. A lot of times you have a button that you have to press when you wake up in the morning, or they've got some sort of motion detector, or you change a sign on a door, you know, just to make sure everybody knows you're doing okay. What we do is we pop a little alert up on your screen. We generally aim for around 10 a.m. Price is Right time is usually pretty good, or The View or something like that. And so you pop up the little alert. It's just a one click. And so I'll say that it's lightly disruptive, right? So it does pop up on your screen while you're watching something, but generally you're holding the remote, your finger's on the button that you need to press, and you just click the button. Now it's gone. And now the community knows that, hey, this is somebody that's doing okay. I don't need to go check on them for the day. So it's kind of the right level of, I'll call it intrusiveness, but also ease of useness that kind of like blends together to make it a pretty easy experience. And what we found is our sort of compliance rates are really high based on that. It's like 70, 80% of folks just respond and then they're done, you know? And so versus other types of technologies where, you know, you're lucky to get 40 or 50% compliance rates, and sometimes you get a bunch of false positives or false negatives as well. You know?
And what if the TV is not on?
Yeah, that's another patented sort of piece that we've built over the years, is we know pretty much regardless of model or age, although, you know, there's some CRT ones or some really old stuff that we don't necessarily recommend, but anything I'd say past 2008 TV technology, where we know whether the TV is on or off. We just have sort of various pieces of logic that we use. All of our team here has sort of worked in technology for all of us each for 20 plus years. Microsoft, Harman, audio, video type companies, computer vision, artificial intelligence, that kind of stuff. So we've tried to always figure out clever ways of solving these sort of complex problems that are out there.
So if the TV's off, you would just turn the TV on and pop it up.
Yep.
But how do you, when they turned off the TV, it was blaring at 90 decibels. Can you test that?
You'd mute it. We can mute it as well. So volume control, input control, on-off power control, those are all things. Like I said, luckily we had this stuff solved 3 years ago. Otherwise, these would have been sort of barriers to really provide the solutions that we provide. And so luckily we had all this stuff sort of handled before we even started here.
What kind of things did you not anticipate for that are features that are absolutely necessary at this point?
So there's like some procedural things as well, that I could start with, like just assuming that people didn't want to learn anything new or have something new sort of thrust upon them. That piece was a big concern for us. We're like, just even handing somebody a new remote, what's the reaction going to be? What we found there is there's a strategy that needs to be pursued there. Like we've got probably 10 major pieces of functionality that show up when we install the technology. What we do is don't turn on all of it all at once. You can just turn on little pieces at once, just hand somebody a new remote, let them get used to the new remote, get them used to looking at their calendars, their dining, and maybe asking for help. And then you'd slowly turn on these I'm okay checks, or you turn on family engagement, family video calling, like you slowly work your way through it. It was a learning, because we were sort of happily found that people are open to doing new things if presented to them the right way, but it's not something we'd sort of understood clearly before we entered this market. The other biggie, which I think COVID factored into pretty heavily, is voice. We expected voice to be not heavily used from day one, but this, senior living and seniors in general, very comfortable with voice. I'd say 40 to 50% acceptance rates right out the chute with both voice control, asking for help, doing video calling, that type of stuff. So didn't expect a lot on voice, but are getting a lot of positive responses on voice. So those are, I think, some of the biggies.
So would I use this instead of, say, an Amazon Alexa or Show?
Yeah, for this specific market, like Amazon, obviously Alexa will tell you sort of who the 15th president was or whatever as well, which we don't do. It's not really concerned. It's really, the focus is really around engagement and TV content and communication specifically, as well as family engagement as well. The real key here is, versus sort of an Amazon who's rightly so focused on mass market adoption, right? Hundreds of millions, billions of people, that type of thing. We're really focused at a community level, right? So whatever that community is of, 100 residents and 20, 50 staff and their family members and those types of things, that's our focus. And the solutions are built around that ecosystem, right? Versus sort of some mass market thing. And so we're able to build out these tools to support that sort of piece of it.
So if I'm an operator of a senior living community, I have a central dashboard, and let's say I've got I put it in every unit, so I've got 100 units. How do I manage that?
Yes, exactly what you said. You've got a dashboard, all your residents show up, sort of the state of all their TVs, whether anybody is having any issues, low batteries in their remotes, or whether something's been unplugged or anything like that. So that all shows up. You could import your entire activities calendar into the platform as well, and then choose groups of people that may be interested in different things and start sending reminders out for all of those things. We've seen sort of attendance rates and participation and just activities go up kind of dramatically for specific types of things, when especially like fitnessy type things, when they are getting reminders to do these things versus, oh yeah, I saw it and then I forgot about it, that type of thing. And so the reminder piece of it, but now starting to include maybe other types of groups, right? So if you've got, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and all of them are interested in watching the Steelers game at a certain time on a Sunday, you can preset that up. They don't have to know what channel it's on. It just pops up. You press the button, and we'll tune it to the Steelers game. So different types of activities as well from just your standard physical ones as well. So
that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. Where do you anticipate things are headed in this regard, or what are some of the projects that you're currently working on?
Yeah, I mean, for us, there's still a lot to be done with just the current platform. And so it's how you extend this thing. So obviously voice, we're just doing I honestly say that because we thought it wasn't going to get adopted, we were late to it. So there was a lesson learned there for us. And so now we're leaning into voice pretty heavily to sort of solve a bunch of different problems that people, communities are now telling us that it's a perfect platform to solve. But it really is around sort of leaning into event management. Right now we do the reminders, but can we do more with event management? Can we do more with family engagement as well? Now that you sort of have a good understanding of what the flows look like, and you've got great capabilities to video call and chat. One piece of technology, one piece of the product that we saw just ramp up very quickly is family can send photos to their parents' TV. And now it's their digital photo frame, but it's all curated by their family. And it's all popping up, and it becomes your screensaver. And we've seen that people just leave it on their screensaver. And so I don't know whether their TV was on otherwise before that technology showed up, but they're certainly using it for that now. And that means something, right? Like you can sort of double click on that thing and say, okay, if people are really interested in family sort of memories and family types of media, then should we do more there? And so those are all types of things that sort of we're just now discovering and now leaning into is figure out where do we take this next,
I love it. I love it. I really do. And because it's also so big, it's such a big part of their decor, right? Yeah. And so the more that you can use it and integrate it in other ways besides just the TV, but then using it as a photo frame, it's just a great use of a big piece of technology in your home.
Right. And it is, I mean, these are all these side things, right? It is the largest display. Like, as somebody from not in this market, you could look at this and say, okay, if people are visually impaired in some way, maybe TV isn't important to them. What we found is that TV is more important to them because of that. Like their kids are buying them these 80-inch screens because they can still sort of interact with TV. And it's also the loudest speaker in the room as well. So, last week I was at a community, and while I was there, a fire alarm went off. And I look around I asked the resident, okay, what are we supposed to do exactly? And she's like, well, sometimes they tell us whether we're supposed to stay in the room or we're supposed to actually leave. And I was like, we should just add that to the platform, right? Why not? We've got this bullhorn capability where to the loudest speaker in the room and the largest screen in the room, you can send whatever message you want. Why aren't we telling the residents that just stay in your room because it's a test? How helpful would that be? And so stuff like that is really where we're putting a lot of focus right now.
Great.
So a couple more questions for you. Let's talk a little bit more about the thing that nobody ever wants to talk about, but everybody wants to know, what's it cost? Ballpark cost, and is there monthly, and how hard is it to set up? And I don't need you to give me exact numbers necessarily, but I think that people would like to have just sort of a flavor for, what that looked like.
Yeah, I mean, like if you compare it to other things, it would be similar to subscriptions for other things. So what we tell communities to do is budget around $25 a month per room. And there's different ways you can slice it. There's hardware pieces, there's install costs, there's those types of things. And so we tell them that's kind of how you should think about it. Now there's different pieces of functionality and there's different modules and that type of thing. And it sort of like breaks out different ways for different folks, but that's kind of the way we market it.
Cool. And I put the URL for their website up on the screen so you can see that. And this is one of those things that really has the ability to transform every part of the senior living community, from staff interaction, family interaction, resident interaction, And so I'm so excited about you being a part of the Foresight family and being able to talk about this. And I would expect that in the next 4 or 5 years that everybody will find this will become, I think the one thing that we haven't really talked about in sort of the area I think about it is, I think this could be one of the really, really big differentiators as you're doing your sales process my approach would be as a salesperson would be to go out and say, so, let's talk about this TV thing. How important is it for mom? And we know that it's important. We've seen these problems, and so we went out and we found this technology to make sure that her experience and your experience as a family is the best possible experience. I think it'd be very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So, any last words? We're about out of time here.
No, I'm good unless there's any other questions.
Great. Abbie, any last questions, comments?
Is there a way for a community to try it?
Oh, great question.
Yeah, I mean, we are happy to either do demos or even do sort of on-site sort of, I'll call it trials. The real value though is how do you work with 100 people, right? So like the real efficiencies improvements that you'll see, the real sort of the family engagement pieces, and those really come from, I'll call them full community engagement. Like everybody doesn't have to use Caavo every day to get the benefits, get different benefits out of it. But certainly from a staff point of view, the value sort of exponentially goes up as sort of the total usage goes up as well in the community. So we tend to sort of point people in that direction whenever possible.
All right.
Milan, Abbie, thank you very much. Don't forget Tech Tuesday next week with Abbie. And I was knocking around our file of videos, and I discovered that we have an outro that we have never used. And so we're going to close out with this.